So I just want to give some updates on the process of me working on this optimism theory the last couple of days. So I thought of 3 different rules, talking with my friend Brandon about this today. Unless it's obviously not worth it, it's always worth it. And I think like the context is like, if you want it and it scares you, then it's going to be better than you think it will be. Like there will be more returns than you think there will be. I think there's emergent phenomena in pursuing stuff that you don't know. I think honestly, I think that it's going to be way better than you think it will be. Like if you think there's like a bell curve, and at the top of the bell curve represents like the most likely thing to happen. It's like a distribution of like probability, like your perception of probable events. And the top of the curve is the most likely thing to happen. To the left is unlikely but negative, and to the right is unlikely but positive. I think we've been sort of trained to expect that if we go into a situation and our perceptions prove incorrect, that I think this is like societal, like cultural training. We've been trained that like if our perceptions prove incorrect, it's probably because they were too high and we should lower them. But I think that there is a really strong chance that actually that's not true, and that maybe your perceptions were off, but it's not because they were too high. It's because they were too low. Like what if, be careful with the word expectation here, because I think expectation sort of implies that you have like a right to a certain outcome, and I don't mean that, but what I mean is like, what if you go into a situation and your expectations are, here, and that doesn't work out the way you expected, and the reason is because they should have been actually higher, not lower. Like what if there was more opportunity in that situation than you were expecting to get from it, or there was more opportunity than you were looking for, and because you weren't looking for the right amount of opportunity, a much higher amount of opportunity, it didn't work out for you. And that's why you're discouraged. That's why you have negative emotions, is because like your expectation, your prospective interest was not high enough. So another rule I thought of was that like I'm not sure that you can jump the optimism curve. Like if there is a curve of optimism, which is like unlikely but positive outcomes for a scenario, I'm not sure that you can jump to the most unlikely but positive outcome. I think you actually have to travel through the curve. This is an early theory. I'm not sure if I'll keep this, but it's starting to feel like very more true that you have to you have to climb that curve. Like it's like you have to start with the most likely positive outcome, like directly to the right of neutral, the most likely thing, and then and focusing on that will allow the next less likely positive outcome to sort of like become a reality that you can then focus on, and then after that the next one, and then after that the next one. And it's like I don't think you can jump the curve. I think you have to like climb it. So that's another thing. And then I was thinking just now about how I think that so basically like what being optimistic represents is essentially just sort of like editing your anxieties or your fears. Like if you have a fear about something, and or like an anxiety, or just like your perception of reality is here, right? And in order to be more optimistic, you have to sort of like basically like stop focusing on your fears. And so like it feels scary to do that. So I defined some terms. I think that there's 2 separate modes: identity loss anxiety, and then also chaos anxiety. Like I think a lot of people confuse these 2 things. Like a lot of people are not taking risks because they assume, or at least they are afraid, that in doing so they will lose their identity. Like it's like your identity is like your biggest constraint on reality, and constraints help you make sense of chaos. And so you're afraid of messing with your identity because you don't know what will happen to you. It's like, I think like, okay, here's a really big identity thing for most people, is like being straight or being gay. Like most people resist the thought of being gay or being straight, or changing their sexual preference, because it's just like they're afraid that they won't be able to find their way back to where they are now. Like it's like they don't want to introduce those new variables because they're afraid their identity will like float away. And so I guess my argument is that like I think like I thought technically for a while that like new information should not be able to hurt you. And I don't mean that like in the sense that like it's not that you wouldn't be able to learn uncomfortable new information. It's that like new information shouldn't be able to change your identity. And that's essentially what playing around with like identity changes is like introducing a lot of new information. There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to assume your old identity if you don't like the new changes, right? And so I think actually the real fear is not identity loss, it's chaos. It's overwhelming your perceptive system with too much chaos. And so I think that, yeah, like maybe the real rubric for risk taking is not like, do you want it and are you afraid of it, but do you want it, and are you afraid it will introduce more chaos, rather than are you afraid it will change your identity? Because I think if you're only afraid it will change your identity, I think it should be okay. You should be able to do it. The only reason you shouldn't do it is if it will introduce more chaos and overwhelm your perceptive system. I don't know. So that's what I was thinking about today, and just wanted to make a little video about it and do a daily update.